Happy Thursday, ADOM Nation. Great to be back with you on all of the ADOM social channels. So, whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or YouTube, first and foremost, we'd love to have you share with all of us where you're watching from around the country. It's kind of become like an ADOM Nation tradition to be able to share with us in the comments from where you're watching with. But as always, thanks for joining us. And we have hopefully a familiar face today. I've got Chevelle Galton Rice, who's been an ADOM member for 11 years. She is with us today to talk about all things distinction, the distinction program. And I will just start this way, Chevelle. Like, I have been going to the ADOM conference, I think probably since like 2017. And if there's obviously a lot of great things that happen at conference, but it's that graduation day, right? Where the families are there and the caps and gowns. It's just always such a special part of conference. And I know today, you want to get into that whole program and really encourage those that are watching this to learn more about it, what the benefits are if they're not currently, on that distinction path and all the good stuff. But first of all, it's great to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So just real quick, everybody, I wanted to take a second to go through a little bit of who Chevelle is if you do not know. So she's a dental operations and education leader with more than 2 decades of experience across clinical support, front office management, multi-site operations, and professional development. Right now, she's currently director of membership and director of membership and education for ADOM, where she focuses on membership engagement and then, most importantly, building those meaningful learning experiences. Now, she has a master's of education in education technology and instructional design and brings a practical, people-centered approach to education and leadership development. Plus, she knows a little bit about ADOM. So that's just a little bit about Chevelle. And as we get this thing started, Chevelle, where's a good place to start? Like, when you think about this distinction program, like, what gets you most excited?
I think what gets me most excited is the community of the ADA members and knowing that you're not alone. So really just knowing that there is something out there for us as managers. There's so much opportunity for the different areas in dentistry, and we finally, have something for managers to be able to work towards, and that's the exciting part.
Awesome. So there's 3 areas that I know you want to cover today when we look at the foundation part of distinction. And that is, the growth focused opportunities, the credibility and recognition, and community and impact. So why don't we start with the growth focused part first?
Yes. So to lead off with being growth focused, I think, most of us as managers, we learn so many different things, and there's so much opportunity. And for us as leaders in our practices, there's there's kind of that drive, I think, that most of us have of, wanting to be the best at what we do so then we can provide for our team, for our doctors. And to me, getting your distinctions is a wonderful way to be able to kind of stand out. Honestly, like, in my opinion, great leaders don't stay stagnant. Having the distinctions gives people the a structured path, I guess, would be a great way to explain it, because a lot of the times we get thrown into this position as managers, and there's not necessarily, or we believe that there's not something out there, but there is. And by having this pathway, it kind of takes out that guesswork of, what to learn next. You have the ability to build skills intentionally through education, reflection, and then like real world application, and not just trying to figure it out yourself. I also believe too, with being growth focused, like we have to like claim our excellence. um I think most people probably feel like they're already doing a great job at what they do, but getting your distinction kind of turns that experience into like an actual documented achievement, like having something that says and shows like I'm not just showing up for this role, I'm actually like developing myself in the role, and just leveling up as a leader, kind of moving out of that like day to day grind that managers, go through, and actually like learning to lead with purpose, strategy, and confidence in like the decisions that we make every day. And also it's like ambitious. I don't know, like I just think that, like we have ambition to do something, and now's the time to take action. So having that motivation, and actually have something that you can complete and implement and like see change within your practice, is exciting. And that's something that our distinction program does for people, is it allows them to grow.
So, for each of these, before we go on to the next, I would love to have you share with everybody watching how having a growth focused mindset has helped you in your career. I mean, I can answer one of those questions before you go. We're here talking. You are now in this awesome leadership position to help others take their career to the next level. So, obviously, you've had to have some sort of positive growth focus. But I did want to ask you, like, how has this helped you when you looked at it this way, for your career as a way to share this with everybody that's watching and give them hope and a roadmap that when you do have this growth focused mindset, good things can happen.
Yeah, honestly, oh my gosh, I Adam has done so much for my career. I did not know that I wanted to be in dentistry. Dentistry kind of fell into my lap. And honestly, like I I didn't know like what I wanted to be when I grew up that was realistic. And when I worked for a doctor that introduced me to ADOM, it was like mind blowing to know that there's resources out there, and just having the the ability to hop on different webinars or listen to like industry leaders, knowing that there's people out there kind of um, living the day to day that I am. It like kind of gave me hope, that there's like um, different ways to grow and develop. And so getting into ADOM, it kind of like pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit, in putting myself out there, and like really just being able to say like, hey, I'm going to do this for me, and Adam created that for me. I didn't think that there was really anything out there except kind of figuring things out yourself. And with earning my distinctions, being a member for as long as I have, and kind of beyond, I've been able to move up in my career from you know 24 years ago being a receptionist to you know being an office manager, and then getting into education, teaching, dental assisting, and then operations for a large organization, overseeing multi locations. And now having this opportunity with ADOM, I don't think that I would have had the same type of opportunity if I would have done things alone. And ADOM really has given me the ability to get me there, and I want to be able to share that with everyone, that there's so much opportunity that it opens for us as managers.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think each one of these are the foundation. I know that you wanted to share with all of those that are watching of what this program means, but there's nothing better than real life stories. And you have one, which is how it has helped you and how having a growth focused mindset has helped you get to where you are. So, all right. So, the next one I would love to have you share about the program, and another big benefit is credibility and recognition. And Chevelle, you know this. I mean, there are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of office managers across the country and dental practices that are doing things on a daily basis that do not get recognized, and they may not always be given credit for. But if you know what it takes to run a dental practice, there's a lot there. And I think that's obviously been one of the great things about ADOM is lifting up and recognizing all the great work that office managers do. But the program that you're talking about really takes it to the next level. So I'd love to have you talk about credibility and recognition in regards to this program.
Yes, and it's great because ADOM has three different distinction levels. So you can, earn the different distinctions as you're ready in your, time of your career. And so for me, like the first distinction, which is the fellowship, really kind of gets you like excited and motivated, to be recognized as a leader that you already are. It kind of gives that ability to have that validation, that your experience that you have, the courses that you've taken, and the things that you've learned, demonstrates that expertise not only to the doctors, your team members, but also like patients as well. Dental assistants, hygienists, doctors, they all have different levels of distinctions that they can earn. So managers should have the ability to do that, and ADOM gives us the ability to do that. It helps us stand out and step up, in our field. And I think that, many people share like we all share similar titles, operations manager, office manager, practice administrator, whatever it may be. But to kind of help us stand out, having that distinction shows that you're committed, you took initiative, and just like that higher level of professionalism, because it's something that you want to showcase and be proud of, and I think we deserve that as managers. It builds trust because other people know, just like with um, the other team members in our practices. It shows that we know what the standards are. And with ADOM having kind of this national standard of our fellowship, mastership, and diplomat distinctions, it shows how much we put in as managers to better ourselves, and to want to excel in what we do. And I think too, like, excellence isn't something that should be assumed. It's something that's achieved. And I feel like I can confidently say, as an ADOM member that has earned all three distinctions, that I just it wasn't just something that I gained. It was everything that then evolved from it. Like, yes, the knowledge and like the courses and things like that are wonderful, but the impact that it had on and has on my career, has just been so amazing. And that's something that anyone can achieve. And it's doable, like it's out there, and it's just ready for people to want to be able to be a part of, having that credibility and recognition.
I don't know too many people in my life, if any, that don't appreciate a compliment, and certainly, don't or that do appreciate a compliment, and most importantly, also appreciate being recognized. But I'm glad that you brought up the whole idea of there's the ceremony at conference, there's the actual day when you get recognized, the graduation day per se, but it is more about the journey that you talked about. It's everything that you learn about yourself. It's everything that you learn about what you're capable about. And I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Chevelle. But when I think about the transient nature of dentistry, I've been in dentistry for 20 plus years. And yes, there are situations where an office manager stays at the same practice for 20, 30 years. But I also know there are times when you have to move, or a family situation, or you have to go to a different state or a different practice. And how great has it been to be able to now have the credibility and the recognition, from these programs, that if an office manager does have to go to another practice, or they're looking for a position or one that they really want to get with another, practicing dentist, that they can show that, right? They can show that you went through this work, you put in the energy to really know and understand all the inner workings of the practice, and in many cases help you get that next position if you need to. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I 100% agree with that because even in, my most recent jobs as like directors where I'm leading managers under me, like that's one of the first things that I want for them is to be a member of ADOM, because it gives them the ability to level up. And I think now with, knowing that there's the distinctions and that credibility, if I were to go through resumes, as a director looking for new managers, or, a doctor looking for a new manager to run their practice, seeing those distinctions behind, their name is going to stand out to me, or a recruiter. And I think that's important, because it does set us apart from, someone who maybe doesn't have the distinction. And while some people are okay with, where they're at. For those of us who do want to grow and develop and have that, extra recognition, for me, I look for things like that in, in leaders that I would want to maybe bring into like my team, that it shows me as an employer, wow, that person put in the effort, to do something beyond the normal everyday learning. It's like stepping out there and really like investing in yourself.
Yeah, I love that. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is, I guess if we were looking at this, Chevelle, like a pyramid, you talked about being growth focused first, right? So it's you as the office manager looking inward and making a decision that you're going to have this growth focused mindset to want more than you're even doing, and you talked about that. And then, of course, the next thing is being recognized for that and building the credibility and actually going through the program. It's kind of the middle of the pyramid. This last one, I feel like, is kind of where this all culminates, which is around community and impact. And I think you're a great example of that. You shared with everybody that you have accomplished all three of the distinctions that you could get at ADOM, correct? And so now here you are in this new role, giving back, wanting to make an impact for others that are maybe newer in their journey or that are kind of in the middle of that journey. So I'd love to have you talk about that piece of this program and the community piece of it, and then also the impact that this program can have, not only yourself as a professional, but then so many others.
Yes. So I am an introvert at like deep into my core. And, I think sometimes for, someone like me who may be more introverted, like we want to be a part, and extroverts too, I would assume, like we want to be a part of a community. And honestly, like you had said something, John, that like I never would have thought that my voice mattered. And being a part of ADOM, and even like going through the distinctions, because part of the distinctions is putting your voice out there and sharing your knowledge. And that's where like community and impact is so important, is because like it kind of pushed me outside of my comfort zone to write articles that other ADOM members or that people, will read. and be able to connect and say like, oh wow, like she's going through the exact same things I am, or um, those are ideas that I can bring, to my office that, I never thought of before. The connection that ADOM has with people is just unmatched, like we care about people's growth. We care about improving, not just maintaining it. Um, and it gives you the platform to do that. And I would have never thought, like, putting out my first article was kind of nerve wracking a little bit, because I thought to myself, like, does anyone really want to listen to what I have to say, or does anyone care? And honestly, like, the ADOM community has been so amazing because we all cheer for each other, and that's where leaders, like, all come together. And I know, like, we talk about like the ADOM tribe, we all come together and root for each other and are there for each other to lean on, to, bounce ideas off of, or to, gain knowledge from each other. There's like no gatekeeping when it comes to, learning and education. That's what we're all about. And I think distinction holders influence kind of like that culture, and of, wanting to grow other people, and be a part of their journey. And, like, for me, and this is going to be like, so this is the plaque that I got from my daydom just this past September. Like, to me, this is more than just earning a distinction. This shows like my kids, like, you're never too old to learn something new. You're never too old to like start over, or, go back to school, gain more knowledge in something. And also then to be a mentor to people, like, I feel like this is a great example of just like the hard work and like being a good role model for my kids, but also wanting to be a mentor too to the, newer managers out there who, were like me, that had no clue what I was doing, before, finding resources like ADOM. And so I think, by having that community and, strong leaders all come together, and our same goal, isn't just a plaque or a certificate on the wall. It's actually bettering, communication across dentistry, the systems, having better outcomes, better experiences for patients, for our team members. All of that has such a huge impact on our community as a whole, that that's what gets me so excited. And I hope like my excitement, reaches other people, and, like, wants, people want to be a part of the community that has been around now for 20 years. It's just amazing, and I love it. And it feels good to be a part of something that is authentic.
Chevelle, how many of these social casts on the ADOM social media channels have you watched over the years? A
Um,
couple, a lot,
I
here
mean,
and there.
I've watched a handful. Like, there's always,
Okay.
like the social casts or the webinars. It's, of course, the life of a manager is crazy. Trying to find time to, throughout the day to watch it. But it's always nice, even if you can't catch it live, like to be able to, go back and watch things that it's just very motivational, and to see like there's real people out there that are doing great things, and like want others to like come along to for the journey, but yeah, I love these. I love watching it because it gives me hope, as like there's there's something out there for everyone, to be a part of. So
So the reason why I asked you that question is, did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that you would be on one and be a part of
no.
it and share your story and your journey, which again, in my opinion, that's what this Distinguished program is all about, right? This is all about everybody that's watching this committing to something that wants to take themselves and their career to the next level. And I know you very lightly shared that you're an introvert, but I think what's great about you having the courage to come on here and share your story is that you're going to affect a lot of people out there. Even if just one person watching this makes the decision to go on the same path that that you have and that many others have, you've made a huge difference. And so I think you have officially graduated from introvert to impactful voice, which is awesome. I give you a lot of credit. I've done a lot of these in 6 years, and it definitely is not easy. But I give you a lot of credit, and I think it speaks to the value of this program and all that good. So congratulations to you on all of that. And as we wrap, and any final thoughts that you have about this program, but then more importantly, any logistical things. The ADOM team for all of these, as you all know, will put any links or if you want to get more information about the program. But Chevelle, you might have some final thoughts and maybe lead some people where you want them to go.
Yeah, so I think my final thoughts, just overall, that I want to share with everyone is that your next level starts here. You do not need to wait for permission to grow. You know, like, what are you waiting for? Like, now is the time to jump in and say yes, to leveling up in your career. You guys can check out our website, dentalmanagers.com. It has all of the information about our distinction programs, the requirements, but it's something that, I really hope that you all step to choose, this for yourself, and that you lead boldly and leave a legacy.
That's awesome. Well, listen, great job. Congratulations on all of your success, everything that you're going to continue to do to be a positive impact for those behind you and those that you want to help. And as always, ADOM Nation, we appreciate you watching. We encourage you to continue to watch these. Like Chevelle said, we know that you're busy, but there always are some great nuggets, as there were tons today. Loved your story. And until next time, we'll see you soon, everybody. Thanks, Chevelle.
Thank you.